Far from the bright lights of Hollywood and the shimmer of red carpets, on an ordinary day in a small, run-down coffee shop in a quiet Los Angeles neighborhood, Keanu Reeves expected nothing more than a simple coffee break. Yet a thin thread of fate was about to intertwine his path with a forgotten face from his past, a childhood friend he hadn't seen in decades. No one could have predicted that this seemingly mundane coffee order would transform into an encounter that would change lives forever. Thanks to Keanu's well-known humility and quiet generosity, this meeting would become the genesis of a new seed of hope, blossoming in the corner of a humble coffee shop. Before we continue with this story, tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, because tomorrow we'll have another special story just for you. That morning, Keanu walked into the coffee shop as he usually did, dressed in casual sportswear, a faint smile on his face. An old, worn hat, still bearing faint drops of rain, sat on his head. As the wooden door of the cafe creaked open, the glances of the few scattered customers and employees briefly turned to him. Keanu's fame always preceded him, but he seemed accustomed to it. He casually moved to a small, window-side table, slinging his bag beside him. The soft jazz music playing inside added to the calm atmosphere. As he headed to the counter to place his coffee order, the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee and lightly toasted pastries filled his nostrils. Behind the counter stood a man past his mid-40s, tired but with a lingering sparkle in his eyes, his hair thinning and beard streaked with gray. David. His hands, expert in frothing milk, reflected years of experience. As the gentle hum of the steaming milk filled the air, an abrupt look of surprise and recognition crossed the man's face, catching Keanu's attention. This was David, a face that carried the weariness of years on its shoulders, yet faintly mirrored the shadows of shared memories from a bygone era. David's hand trembled slightly as he whispered Keanu's name, his voice sounding like a language unspoken for decades. "Keanu, is that really you?" Keanu's eyebrows subtly arched. He recognized the voice, but his mind hadn't yet matched it with the face. David's old, stained apron and his weary demeanor whispered a reality far removed from the glitter of Hollywood. Then the words that flowed from David's lips rewound time, transporting them back to their childhood, like a magical key unlocking forgotten memories. "That old basketball court in the park. Remember, the gang members showed up, and you saved me from hiding in those bushes. We got into trouble over a silly ball game, and then my mom made us lemonade." As David's voice trailed off, a lightning bolt struck in Keanu's mind. His eyes widened, meeting David's. Yes, David. Little David. When they were just kids, he had protected him from bullies, becoming little Keanu's hero. They'd embarked on countless adventures in the neighborhood, sharing their deepest secrets, cycling for miles, building tree houses. They were the naughtiest yet most loyal duo in the neighborhood. A profound sense of regret washed over Keanu. How could he have forgotten him? This man, a significant part of his life, was now here, a tired, quiet barista. Keanu noticed every detail, the deep lines on David's face, the calluses on his hands, the slump in his shoulders from exhaustion. It was as if all his hopes and dreams had slowly eroded with time, leaving behind only a faint shadow of the past. A lump formed in Keanu's throat. In David's eyes, there was no bitter jealousy toward Keanu's glittering career, but rather a poignant acceptance and longing for the past. "David," Keanu murmured, his voice uncertain, almost a whisper. The weight of old memories tugged at his heart. You're here. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I could have forgotten you." Words caught in his throat, Keanu standing before David with his characteristic humility. Keanu took his coffee and continued talking with David, oblivious to the other customers and staff. "How did we lose touch all these years? Where did life take you?" David, wiping coffee cups, provided concise answers, sketching out his life's journey, the challenging period after school, short-term, unskilled jobs in various cities, a failed attempt to start a business based on his passion for writing, and finally here, as a barista in a small coffee shop. He harbored an unfulfilled dream of becoming a writer, but he had long shelved it, not even thinking of dusting it off. Keanu sensed the subtle resentment and lost passion in David's words. He could feel the deep weariness that lay beneath David's proud demeanor. It was not just physical exhaustion, but spiritual as well. As he left the coffee shop that day, a plan to help David began to form in Keanu's mind. But it wouldn't be a simple act of charity. He had to create a second chance for David. However, doing so directly as a Hollywood star could wound David's pride. How could he offer what David truly needed without causing offense, without diminishing his dignity? This had to align with Keanu's enduring belief. True generosity resides in silence. Alleviating David's unspoken burden had to be more than a rescue mission. It had to be an attempt to mend a long-severed bond, to rewrite a story that was rightfully theirs. The next day, Keanu didn't come for coffee. Instead, he contacted the owner of the coffee shop. He didn't have to struggle to introduce himself. The owner, hearing his name, listened with astonishment and excitement. Keanu proposed a discreet but significant investment in the small coffee shop where David worked. This investment would cover modernizing the cafe, acquiring better coffee machines, increasing employee salaries, and creating a more comfortable working environment. However, Keanu insisted that this investment be tied to a specific arrangement for David. His salary would be doubled. He would be given the title of operations manager with the authority to manage the cafe's daily operations, and he would receive a full-time job guarantee. Furthermore, Keanu offered David a part-time, well-paid role as a story consultant for a new screenplay project he was working on, inspired by his own childhood and formative years. For David to accept this offer, Keanu's name was never to be mentioned. All proposals were to be made through the cafe owner under the guise of a business development project. The plan was flawless. It would provide David with the support he deserved while preserving his pride. The owner, astonished by this unexpected and generous offer, accepted without hesitation. Thus, Keanu's silent help, like an angel, had spread its wings over David, even without him knowing. As months passed, a noticeable, almost miraculous change came over David's life. He was no longer just a barista at the cafe, but also the operations manager, responsible for daily operations. The lines of fatigue on his face had diminished, and the sparkle in his eyes had returned. It was as if the energy of his youth had been rekindled. Thanks to Keanu's secret project, he had rediscovered his long-forgotten talent for writing. Every evening after the cafe closed, he would rush home, pouring the childhood memories he shared with Keanu, their neighborhood adventures, and their youthful dreams onto paper. The feedback he received from an anonymous consultant on Keanu's script team incredibly honed his writing, increasing his mastery of words. David's characters breathed, his dialogues came alive. He was filled with a new sense of hope, but he couldn't quite grasp the reason behind these changes. He attributed everything to opportunities that came by chance, his own perseverance, and the universe finally smiling upon him. Perhaps this was the big break he had been waiting for all these years, a turning point he truly deserved. A few months later, Keanu returned to the coffee shop to visit David. David beamed when he saw him, a genuine sparkle now in his eyes. He handed Keanu a hot coffee, a cup prepared with more care than usual, almost like a work of art bearing David's own signature. "Keanu, I can't thank you enough," David said, his voice filled with gratitude. "My life has changed. Things at the cafe are better, I have a better salary, and I'm even a story consultant on a project. I wonder who's behind all this luck. It's as if a magic hand touched everything. It all started right after your first visit." Keanu smiled, his eyes holding deep understanding and warmth. "There are good people in the world, aren't there, David? Sometimes help comes from unexpected places, just like old friendships. The important thing is to seize the opportunities that come your way and embrace life fully." David sensed the subtlety and implied meaning in Keanu's words, as if there was more to it than met the eye. But he hesitated to voice the thought that this sudden good fortune might be connected to Keanu. After chatting a little more, Keanu left saying, "I'll be back soon. We'll talk about the script." A warm and peaceful feeling in his heart. David watched Keanu leave, many questions in his mind, but also a hope and belief in a new beginning he had never felt before. David's life had truly changed. His screenplays garnered attention, and he savored the joy of crafting his own stories. Soon he began receiving offers from production companies for his first screenplay. Years later, major news broke about David. The screenplay he had written, based on his childhood memories and adventures with Keanu, had been bought by a major Hollywood studio for a significant sum. Filming had already begun, and there were even rumors that Keanu Reeves himself would have a small role. One evening, as David wandered around the film set, he overheard Keanu talking to a director. The director was telling Keanu how authentic and personal some of the scenes in the screenplay were. Keanu smiled and said, "Yes, these scenes are inspired by the real experiences of my childhood friend, David, and the memories we shared. He's also the project's secret hero. Without him, this story could never have been so deep and realistic." The director asked in astonishment, "A secret hero? Who is this David? Why haven't we heard of him before?" Keanu, smiling, replied, "He's a barista and an incredible storyteller and a very proud man." David's heart pounded in his chest. All the pieces fell into place. Keanu, he was the one who had changed his life, starting with a cup of coffee all those years ago in that cafe. His eyes welled up, but this time not from shame or regret, but from pure joy and immeasurable gratitude. He rushed to Keanu's side and hugged him tightly. "Keanu, I know everything," he whispered, his voice trembling. Keanu smiled, patting David's back. "I knew you'd understand one day, but most importantly, you got here through your own efforts, David. I was just a spark." Both knew this moment was special and that this knowledge should remain between them. Neither David nor Keanu felt the need to make this story public. Their friendship and Keanu's quiet generosity were enough. David became a successful screenwriter, making a name for himself, and he showed his gratitude to Keanu by performing similar acts of kindness for those around him. He mentored young writers and secretly extended a helping hand to struggling artists. He even opened his own small coffee shop and named it Second Chance Cafe, where he greeted everyone with a story and a smile, just as Keanu had done for him. The story concludes with the message, true wealth is not measured by how much money you have, but by how many hearts you touch, and sometimes the greatest acts of kindness are performed in silence. This story of Keanu Reeves once again proves that he is not just a Hollywood star, but also a symbol of empathy, friendship, and second chances. Sometimes the greatest heroes are those who act most silently, but their impact echoes forever, inspiring countless lives. If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more tales of hope, compassion, and resilience.